Decisions, decisions, decisions. Adam, let's talk about it. Folks, welcome to the Baseball Brewhaha again. We have a lot of shout outs today, but I want to start just celebrating my wife's birthday, and she's amazing, wonderful, and I just happy birthday to my wife. We did get to go out on a hike and eat a lovely dinner. But say I love my wife very much, very, very much. And that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about decisions. And we're talking about Roki Sasaki. I know, Adam, this hasn't been top on your radar, but we've got
No.
decisions to talk about. So why don't you say some words into the microphone?
Happy birthday to your wife. Wonderful person. Glad to have her support of us making the decision to do this show.
Yeah.
Hang out with y'all. As far as Roki, yeah, I don't know a lot about Roki. I've been, taking a break from the daily baseball news for a bit. But I do know he's making his way over to the States and gonna command some dollars from some teams.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one because you have two recent big name Japanese players to come over. So the most recent was Yoshinobu, signed with the Dodgers last year, like 350 million or whatever it was in his contract, huge contract. Shohei, needs no introduction. He came over early, and so he signed a smaller deal and was with the Angels for a period of, like basically the same as like a minor leaguer coming up through the system. Made less money on the major league side. Obviously, he's everywhere, so his endorsement deals were huge and so on. So Sasaki is following the same trajectory as Shohei, coming over early, which is interesting because with Yoshinobu, who got over 300 million, if Sasaki waited 2 years, he likely would have had at least the contract that Yoshinobu had. So, you hear that? What are your initial thoughts? Obviously, we don't know Sasaki. We don't know his thought process. You can infer some things. What are your initial thoughts?
When I hear about that, there are a couple things that come to mind. One is from the game of baseball standpoint. So I'm imagining Sasaki wants to take his game to the next level, play against all of the best players in the world. The Japanese league is very strong, and he's playing against great players, but he's not playing against the best of the best every single day, and a lineup that's made up of the best of the best every single day. So I imagine there's part of that happening there. And then, when it comes financial, like you were talking about with Shohei, I'm sure there's plenty of supplemental. It's just, supplemental income from the endorsement deals that'll be coming his way.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's interesting though because Sasaki, he's not the two-way player that Shohei was. Though, you look back at it and there were some questions about, especially after spring training, that Shohei's first spring training, he got touched up on the pitching side. He hit pretty well, but he wasn't like what he is now. Certainly in the major leagues, there was a considerable amount of risk that he took. And Sasaki, as great of a pitcher as he is projected to be, even better than Yoshinobu and Shohei, He's not the dual player. I have a hard time thinking he'll be bigger in name than Shohei. So it's kind of an interesting move here. It got it really. I think the thing for us is, again, we don't know Sasaki. I completely agree with you. I think there's way more to it than just that paycheck at the end of the day. You got injury stuff to consider. There's any number of things to consider, and Sasaki's got his own goals and his own list of criteria that he's working through. It makes me think about uh, our own and other people we know, the decisions that we make and how we make those decisions, because it's not always about the money.
It can't be about the money. And, there's actually been a lot of psychology research behind that as well, that
Mm.
people don't work just for money. And those who do um, burn out much more quickly than those who have other reasons in addition to money that they're doing a particular job.
Yeah, yeah, and I would think that um, that the sort of anecdotal evidence, the things that we see here and there, um, would align with that. I'll be honest. I feel like I don't know a lot of people that I've talked to that are like kind of do their work for the paycheck strictly. I mean, certainly there's an element of that when you're starting out. That's like, hey, I got to feed my family. This is an opportunity for me to grow my skills. But I don't. This isn't. I don't see this as a destination. So that's sort of a natural thing. But then you get to a spot where you know to make some kind of a move is means something financially. So I know you've experienced this to some degree. I've got people in my life that are have made some decisions this way. Um, Share what you want. I mean, as much as you want to share about your circumstance, but I know you went through some of this on kind of this financial side of things, thinking through it.
Y- Yeah, I mean, a couple times actually. Once, I had started my teaching career in overseas, and then moved back. And before moving back, I didn't have a job secured, but I did know that I had some other goals that I wanted to pursue, and it was a bit risky because it was global recession time at that point, and so the job market was a bit thin, and so I had to do some work to make sure that I found myself some work, and I did. Um, but I had my goals in mind that were different from what I was leaving behind,
Mm.
and then more recently, I moved jobs within, like, the same similar school in the same area, and that was motivated by goals again. I wanted to grow
Hmm.
professionally, and I was given an opportunity really to create the job that I wanted and define it, and,
Hmm.
you know, have an opportunity to do something that I'd probably never get to ever
Hmm.
again unless I start my own company or something like that. Um, and I took a pretty significant pay cut to do that. I've
Hmm.
I've built back up since then, and in a better spot financially than when I started. But yeah, I had to make sure I had the enough to support the family, do what I needed to do.
Hmm.
Uh, but there were other things that were more important to that equation than just the paycheck, like you're saying.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. This goals and passions and giftings and desires, all that stuff is it's really fascinating because I feel like there have been so many of these things that have come into play. So you're talking about leaving to pursue, and kind of you sort of got to write your own position. I have a friend who kind of had that offered a bit on the table, like, hey, you can kind of write your position in here. The paycheck was meaningfully more, uh, but with a lot more future instability, or essentially not some guarantees in the future. And so that's been a really difficult decision for him. He ended up turning that down, actually, because there was so much risk on the table, that he felt like it wasn't what it wasn't what he wanted to do. So um, so that's been an interesting journey walking with him on that. Very skilled and talented individual. Um, and then my brother-in-law Alex. Shout out Alex. Alex was working an engineering job, good at it, had the skills. Exactly. I mean, he was a perfect fit for what they needed. Um, but it just wasn't what he wanted. It wasn't what he really where everything in his gift set and his tools really aligned. And so he's been volunteer firefighting and decided to take um, to go full time. And so he took about, I mean, it was at least 50% pay cut to go be a full time firefighter, knowing that eventually he'd grow that income, but it would take some time. And he's still not all the way back up to where he was. Here we are 4 years later. Well, I guess 2.5 years later, being full time. But huge congratulations to Alex, because he just got named chief, the chief, not a chief or sub chief, the chief of local fire department. Huge shout out to Alex. His hard work has really paid off. And a huge shout out to his wife as well, because she has really carried a lot of the household weight and all that kind of stuff to really support him. So I'm really proud of Alex. And this is one of those situations where, like Sasaki, took a lot less money, but with bigger goals and bigger opportunities on his horizons.
Yeah, and also we don't know. I mean, there could be other things going on in the background too that we don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's an aspect of his personal life that's pushing him or drawing him, either pushing him away from Japan or drawing him to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a work environment type of situation where the style of play or the style of ownership and management doesn't match what he's looking for. And I think probably a lot of people, certainly in my life, probably in yours as well, can relate to that as well. Like there's a work environment aspect to work quality, um,
Mm-hmm.
the aspect to what you're doing every day, and there has to be a payoff that's greater than just money.
Yes, absolutely. And I think too, that management ownership piece. I mean, I've had, we've both, I think everybody's worked jobs where you just felt like you weren't quite all, just you and the company. Like it was okay, but you felt like you were misaligned a bit, whether you could put your finger on it or not. And so, who knows? There could be an element of that. I mean, it's like we look at it simplistically, like it's just baseball, dude. Like, like because we're not professional athletes. Um, but the reality is that just like every other job, some environments are fit individuals better. You know what I mean? Like it's not just that that one's all bad. It's just like that might be a better fit for player A. And so outside looking in, we don't know. We don't know what fits each player best, and what Sasaki's making decisions on. I think about my most recent job change, which came about 4.5 years ago. Um, and I stepped into a position where the pay was similar, so it wasn't a huge change there. Um, but I was doing half of a role that I wasn't really sure if I was interested in, but I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do that role. But the work environment and my bosses in particular is so incredible that it made that really a no brainer, to say, you know what, I'm willing to be out of my comfort zone, doing things that I'm not really sure if I want to be doing some of these things long term. But I want to work for you guys because of who you are and what you do for your clients. Like, I want to be part of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are looking for um, a quality work environment, a fit, just like you're talking about with um, a job or a team or a management style or system that fits. And some people are able to find that by looking for a particular job, and
Hmm.
some people look for a company that matches what they're looking for and try and find their way into that company, and then make their way and kind of find their path as they're working with a particular company. And I'm curious, when I think, again, tying this back to Sasaki, I'm curious for him. Is it about, like, I want to pitch, like there's a
Hmm.
job in the US that I want to do? Is it that? Or is there something about being in Major League Baseball and it doesn't really matter exactly where I'm going to fit? Of course, he's going to pitch, but it doesn't really matter where I fit. I just want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of what I grew up watching with Ichiro, or you know, Hideo Nomo, or some of the people that he may have grown up watching and idolizing as
Hmm.
other Japanese players who have made the transition to the U.S. Um, so we don't know. It'll be fun to learn more and to see what his story is about, and to
Hmm.
um, see what his transition is like to the major league game.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the one thing that I was just thinking about that I think we can take from Sasaki, whether or not we really know all of his motivations and that kind of thing, is that I think I think it's safe to say that he has a clear view, a clear understanding of who he is, what his goals are, and what he's striving for. And it's more than money, it's more than the dollars. And so um, I think that we, not just you and I, Adam, but people, it would go a very long way for us to take the time and do the work to really understand who we are, what drives us, what are we interested in, what are we good at, and invest in those things so that we know what an opportunity actually looks like. That a paycheck doesn't necessarily mean an opportunity. Okay, let me give you an example. Another example: baseball. I'm reading the R.A. Dickey story here. More youth version, a little easier to read. But I just got to a section where he's a free agent, finished a minor league season. He's got nothing on the table for a major league offer. Had a great season though, and he had guaranteed money in South Korea. But his agent basically said, "Hey, look, if you take that guaranteed money, um, your likelihood of going to the MLB is probably over, at his age and that kind of thing." And so he turned it down. But it was because he got very clear about his goals, very clear about who he was, and believing in himself. It's a risk. It's a risk. It ended up working out for him. It doesn't always work out. But that $300,000 for the average person outside looking in, it's pitching. That is a great opportunity to make guaranteed money pitching. But for him to say, no, that isn't the opportunity that I'm looking for. The opportunity that I'm looking for is fits this criteria. And I think often we don't spend that time. And so we actually don't know what an opportunity actually looks like that fits our situation.
Yeah, and not only chasing dollars, but
Mhm.
like chasing titles too,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
or
Totally.
chasing status. Those kind of things um, can get in the way too. Where like our goal, like sometimes people get goals that are tied to maybe like a certain lifestyle or a car or something.
Hmm.
And it can sort of like mess with you a little bit as far as like trying to find purpose and find some meaning in what you're doing every day.
Well, Adam, we've been here talking a little bit about opportunity. What does it actually look like? Well, today we have an opportunity to open a pack of cards.
We've created that opportunity for ourselves.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, we
It's an
made
exciting day.
it's big time. The opportunity has come. We haven't done this last show or two, so we're gonna open it up. We'll see what happens. Maybe we've got a link to the past that links to our current, and we'll talk about it if it does. Studio 92. See what we get. Maybe we'll get some kind of hit or something. And um, so, if you don't have your baseball cards at home, go out, get you a pack. Let's see what we get. So, here we go. We'll start up with Jose Guzman, Brian Jordan. Come back to him. Pat Borders, Mike Devereaux, Juan Guzman. Got the Guzman crew going here today. Oh, what are we doing? Oh boy, bro, this is ugly. Jose Guzman again, Brian Jordan again, Pat Borders again,
Hmm. Rough.
Jeff Russell. But then we finish with three Hall of Famers: Lee Smith, Jack Morris, and Mike Messina. Look at that.
Wearing the Jackie Robinson Day uniform there.
For Messina? Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, was that this would have been
It
before
was pre
Jackie?
it would have been pre Jackie. I didn't
Yeah,
realize he wore 42.
yeah, and was that
We
just for a
just
time? I don't know. Hmm,
we just
interesting.
stumbled on a little nugget there, folks.
Yeah.
Ready for a deep dive into irrelevant baseball information. Look up Mike Messina wearing 42.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is interesting. Think about Brian Jordan. I do wish I knew a little bit more about his story, but here's a guy who played in the NFL and Major League Baseball, primarily as a Major League Baseball player. But you talk about opportunities, you talk about the potential for, um, he could have ruined his baseball career playing in the NFL. Concussions, blows out a knee, injuries much more likely in the NFL than Major League Baseball. But it worked out for him. He had a solid Major League career.
He did, and I mean, a one of the few successful two-way players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think when we've seen the last. I mean, Dion, obviously, Brian Jordan was at that time. Who's the last guy Bo Jackson was in that same time frame. Those three guys were kind of the guys, great athletes. Uh, do we have anybody in that? Mark Hendrickson? Let's drop some knowledge. WSU product Mark Hendrickson, Major League pitcher, NBA forward. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't two-way, was he? Like, he wasn't at the same time. He did one and then the other.
Did he? I thought he had
Isn't that
crossover.
right?
I mean,
Okay.
either way, the fact that he played both professionally is astounding. Um,
Yeah.
so, um, yeah. Do we, I mean, there's nobody current that I can think of
Who's doing both? No.
yeah, doing two sports professionally.
Yeah.
So,
No.
yeah, yeah. So, well, we've tangentized on that. We want to say thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for talking opportunities. Thanks for exploring this topic with us. If you've got a story about your own career, um, you know, we'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear what's happening in your life. So share it with us. We'll be back at it again next week. We'll see you then.